more than 28 miles.
What is this? Who is this guy?
Raymond is your brother.
My brother? I don't have a brother.
The year was 1988, and Hollywood was about to learn that a slow, quiet movie about brotherly love could beat every action blockbuster at the box office. Rain Man had everything working against it. No explosions, no romance, no clear villain. Just Dustin Hoffman rocking back and forth in a diner booth, while Tom Cruise slowly realized that some things matter more than money. The premise sounded like box office poison. Two brothers take a road trip. One has autism. They argue, they bond, they learn to communicate across a neurological divide most people didn't even have words for yet. Studios had passed on this project for years. The script went through 8 years of development hell and multiple writers. The budget kept climbing. Executives kept panicking. Everything about this production screamed worthy failure rather than cultural phenomenon. But something unexpected happened when cameras started rolling in 1988. Rain Man became the highest-grossing film of the year, won Best Picture, gave Dustin Hoffman his second Oscar, and fundamentally changed how America understood autism spectrum disorders. A film that took nearly a decade to get made ended up defining the year and launching conversations that continue today. It proved that sometimes the riskiest bet pays off bigger than anyone imagined. Today, we're counting down 15 weird facts about Rain Man that show just how close this movie came to never existing. Stick around for number 1, because it involves a real savant who became famous, a medical controversy, and the moment everyone realized this wasn't just another Oscar bait drama. Now, before we dive in, be sure to like and subscribe because it genuinely helps the channel grow. Let's get into it with number 15. Number 15, Martin Brest, directed for weeks, then got fired and replaced. Rain Man didn't start with Barry Levinson in the director's chair. It started with Martin Brest, who'd just come off Beverly Hills Cop and was looking to prove he could handle serious dramatic material. United Artists hired him, he started filming, and then everything fell apart. Brest shot for 2 weeks. He had a vision for the film that involved more comedy, a lighter touch, playing up the road trip elements over the emotional drama. According to reports, he wanted something closer to Midnight Run than what the script actually called for. The studio watched the dailies and realized they had a serious problem. This wasn't the movie they had greenlit, so they fired him. Mid-production, 2 weeks of footage thrown away, Brest walked away with his directing fee and the knowledge that he'd just lost control of a potential Oscar contender. Then Barry Levinson came in, started over from scratch, and took the film in a completely different direction. Quieter, more intimate, focused entirely on the relationship between the brothers. Here's the twist. Brest's firing was the best thing that could have happened to Rain Man. His comedic approach might have worked, but it wouldn't have won Best Picture. Levinson understood that the power was in the silence, not the jokes. One vision failed, another succeeded, and somewhere Martin Brest watched the Oscars in 1989, knowing he'd been attached to a film that won everything without him. Number 14, Dustin Hoffman. Spent months researching real savants before filming. Dustin Hoffman didn't wing this performance. Before cameras rolled, he spent months visiting institutions, meeting individuals with autism spectrum disorders and savant syndrome, studying how they moved, spoke, and interacted with the world. This wasn't about nailing an impression. It was about building a character from authentic observation. His primary research subject was Kim Peek, a real savant living in Salt Lake City. Peek had developmental disabilities, but possessed extraordinary memory capabilities. He could read 2 pages simultaneously, one with each eye, and recall the content with perfect accuracy. He'd memorized over 12,000 books. His father, Fran, became Hoffman's guide to understanding how Kim's brain worked differently. Hoffman also spent time at institutions observing people across the autism spectrum. He took notes on speech patterns, physical mannerisms, sensory sensitivities. The way Raymond rocks, the monotone voice, the aversion to being touched, all of it came from real observation rather than stereotypical assumptions about autism. The research took months. It delayed production. It cost money. Studio executives got nervous about an actor who seemed more interested in preparation than actually filming, but Hoffman refused to rush it. He knew that half-assing this performance would be disrespectful to the real people he was representing. And here's the payoff. The performance became so authentic that medical professionals used clips from Rain Man to train doctors and therapists. Hoffman created something so grounded in reality that it became educational material. The research wasn't just about winning awards, it was about getting it right. And he did. Number 13. The script went through 8 years and multiple writers before getting greenlit. Barry Morrow wrote the first draft of Rain Man in 1984, inspired by his friendship with Bill Sachter, a man with developmental disabilities. Morrow had previously written a TV movie about their friendship that won awards.
First base.
He played for Cincinnati?
Of course, he was traded for defunded, 1957. Lifetime batting average, 290.
He figured a feature film about two brothers, one neurotypical and one with autism, could work. Hollywood disagreed. Every studio passed. Too niche, too quiet, no commercial potential. Morrow kept rewriting, bringing in other writers to punch it up. At various points, the script was a comedy, a heist film, a broader road movie with more gags. Each pass changed the tone. Each version got rejected. By 1986, the project had cycled through multiple writers, including Barry Levinson's longtime collaborator, Ron Bass. The script had been rewritten so many times that barely anything from Morrow's original draft remained, except the basic premise. United Artists finally greenlit it, then fired the first director and nearly shut down production. When filming finally started in 1988, the script was still being rewritten during production. Levinson encouraged improvisation. Entire scenes got restructured on location. The ending got completely rewritten because the original version felt dishonest. Here's the beautiful irony. Barry Morrow and Ron Bass won the Oscar for Best Original Screenplay, despite being two writers among many who'd worked on it. The other writers got residuals and nothing else. 8 years of development hell, countless drafts, and only 2 names on the Oscar. Number 12, Richard Dreyfuss, was attached to play Charlie before Tom Cruise. Before Tom Cruise became Charlie Babbitt, Richard Dreyfuss was attached to the role for over a year. Yes, the guy from Jaws and Close Encounters was going to play the fast-talking hustler who kidnaps his autistic brother for inheritance money. Different energy entirely from what Cruise eventually brought. Dreyfuss was attached when Martin Brest was still directing. The two had worked together before and had good chemistry. Dreyfuss saw Charlie as a complex character, selfish but not evil, ambitious but not heartless. He understood the arc from greed to genuine love. Then Brest got fired. Dreyfuss's deal evaporated with him. When Barry Levinson took over, the studio wanted a bigger star, someone with more box office pull, someone who could attract younger audiences. Dreyfuss was 40 years old and mainly known for ensemble work. They needed a marquee name. Tom Cruise was 26, coming off Top Gun and The Color of Money. He had the heat.
You? You're the Rain Man?
He also had something Dreyfuss couldn't offer, the physical contrast with Hoffman. Cruise's intensity and youth played perfectly against Hoffman's stillness and Raymond's childlike qualities. The age gap worked. Dreyfuss moved on. He later said in interviews that losing Rain Man stung because he'd invested time in developing the character. But here's the twist. Cruise's youth completely redefined the role. Charlie became a young man, learning empathy rather than a middle-aged man confronting regret. One casting change shifted the entire emotional core. Both versions could have worked. Only one got made. Number 11. Tom Cruise deferred his salary to get the film made. By 1988, Tom Cruise was one of the biggest stars in Hollywood. Top Gun had made him a global phenomenon. He could demand $3 to $5 million up front for any project. When he signed on for Rain Man, everyone assumed he'd negotiated his usual massive deal. He hadn't. Cruise took scale, the minimum payment required by the Screen Actors Guild, plus back-end points tied to the film's gross. This meant if Rain Man flopped, he'd make roughly $70,000, pocket change compared to his market value. If it succeeded, he'd potentially make far more than any upfront salary. The studio needed this deal. Rain Man's budget was already stretched. They'd fired one director, thrown away 2 weeks of footage, and were starting over. Every dollar mattered. Cruise agreeing to defer compensation made the film financially viable. Without that sacrifice, United Artists might have pulled the plug entirely. Then Rain Man became the highest-grossing film of 1988, earning $354.8 million worldwide on a $25 million budget. Those back-end points turned into approximately $10 to $12 million for Cruise, far exceeding what he would have made up front. Here's the lesson. Cruise bet on the material. He wanted to prove he could carry a serious drama, not just action films. He gambled his salary on his own judgment. And when the film succeeded critically and commercially, the gamble paid off spectacularly. He got an Oscar nomination, massive financial return, and proof that audiences would follow him anywhere. Smart bet. Number 10. The Kmart underwear scene was completely improvised. One of the film's most memorable moments happens in a Kmart parking lot. Raymond has a meltdown because Charlie bought the wrong underwear. Raymond only wears boxer shorts from Kmart. These are briefs. Charlie tries to reason with him. Raymond cannot be reasoned with. The scene escalates until Charlie realizes he's fighting a losing battle against neurology. None of this was in the script. The original scene just had them stopping at Kmart for supplies. During filming, Hoffman started improvising Raymond's distress over the underwear. Cruise went with it, playing Charlie's frustration as mounting panic. Levinson kept the cameras rolling. What emerged was one of the most authentic depictions of autism-related rigidity in mainstream cinema. Raymond's need for specific routines isn't quirky or cute. It's absolute. His brain cannot process deviation. When Charlie pushes back, Raymond's stress escalates into a genuine crisis. The scene makes you feel the unbridgeable gap between their neurologies. After the film's release, parents and caregivers of autistic individuals cited this scene as the moment they felt seen. The underwear wasn't a punchline, it was reality. That specificity, that absolute requirement for sameness, was something they lived with daily. Here's the beautiful part. Hoffman's improvisation created unscripted empathy. He wasn't playing autism for laughs. He was showing what it actually looks like when routine gets disrupted. The scene works because it refuses to compromise Raymond's needs for narrative convenience. Number 9. They filmed in real casinos and real gamblers kept playing around them. The Las Vegas sequence where Raymond counts cards at blackjack is one of Rain Man's most iconic scenes. Charlie realizes his brother's savant abilities can be monetized. Raymond sits at the table, tracks every card, and wins thousands while barely reacting to the chaos. Director Barry Levinson refused to build a casino set. He wanted the real thing. Actual slot machines, actual table games, actual gamblers losing real money while Dustin Hoffman and Tom Cruise filmed a movie in the middle of it all. So, they got permission from Caesar's Palace to shoot inside the operating casino during business hours. This created massive logistical nightmares. Real gamblers don't stop gambling because there's a film crew present. They had to coordinate with casino security to manage foot traffic without shutting down the floor. Dealers had to keep working. Slot machines kept clanging. People kept winning and losing actual money 20 feet from the actors. But the gamble paid off. The scene feels electric because it is electric. That's real casino energy, real noise, real chaos. Raymond's stillness becomes even more striking because the environment is genuinely overwhelming. You can feel the sensory assault that Raymond is processing while somehow maintaining focus on the cards. Here's the twist. Caesar's Palace loved the exposure so much that after release, the scene became essentially a commercial for their casino. Tourists showed up asking to sit at the Rain Man table. The casino made money from the association for decades. Everyone won except maybe the real gamblers who couldn't concentrate with cameras everywhere. Number 8, the toothpick counting scene was based on Kim Peek's real ability.
82, 82.
The scene where Raymond instantly counts 246 toothpicks scattered on a diner floor has become one of the most referenced moments in cinema. A waitress drops a box, toothpicks spill everywhere. Raymond glances down and immediately announces the exact count. The waitress verifies. He's right. Charlie stares in disbelief. This wasn't Hollywood exaggeration. Kim Peek, Hoffman's primary research subject, could actually perform similar instant calculations. During their research sessions, Peek demonstrated his ability to subitize, to perceive quantities instantly without counting. He could look at a scattered group of objects and know the precise number. Neuroscientists still study this ability. Most people can subitize up to about 4 or 5 objects. Beyond that, we have to count. Savants like Peake can subitize far larger quantities through neurological processes we don't fully understand. It looks like magic. It's actually a different kind of brain processing. The filmmakers included this scene specifically to show audiences something that sounds impossible, but is completely real. They wanted to demonstrate that savant abilities aren't movie tricks. They're documented neurological phenomena. But here's where it gets complicated. After Rain Man's release, the toothpick scene became shorthand for all autism. Every TV show, every article, every reference used it. This created a misconception that all autistic people have savant abilities. They don't. Only about 10% of autistic individuals show savant syndrome. The scene was accurate for Raymond. It became a stereotype for everyone else. Good intentions, unintended consequences. The film raised awareness while accidentally narrowing understanding. One moment of authentic representation became a cultural oversimplification that advocates have been fighting ever since. Number 7. Barry Levinson. Encourage massive improvisation and threw out the script regularly.
Definitely not my room.
It's just for tonight, right?
I have to go back to Walbrook for dinner.
Little guy, whoa.
Rain Man's script took 8 years to develop. Multiple writers polished it. Every line had been scrutinized and revised. Then Barry Levinson showed up and told his actors to ignore most of it. He wanted spontaneity, real conversation, moments that emerged organically rather than from the page. Levinson's approach terrified studio executives. They had invested heavily in that script. Now the director was treating it like a loose guideline rather than gospel. But Levinson understood something crucial. Autism doesn't follow a script. Real communication between Raymond and Charlie needed to feel discovered, not written. Huge chunks of dialogue came from improvisation. The who's on first routine in the phone booth, various car conversations, small behavioral tics that Hoffman added to Raymond's character, the way Cruz's frustration builds in certain scenes. None of this was scripted. It emerged from actors living in the moment. Levinson would let scenes run longer than planned, burning extra film to capture accidents that might become magic. He trusted that Hoffman and Cruz understood their characters well enough that improvisation would serve the story rather than derail it. The result? Rain Man doesn't feel written. It feels observed. Conversations have the messy rhythm of real exchanges between two people learning to communicate across a vast neurological divide. Number 6. The film's title comes from Charlie's childhood mispronunciation.
Yeah. Let's just cut through the bullshit, okay? Now, I am entitled to part of my father's estate. If you don't...
Rain Man isn't a metaphor. It's not symbolic. It's a mispronunciation. When Charlie was young, he had an imaginary friend he called the Rain Man. This friend would sing to him, comfort him during hard times. Charlie remembers this figure fondly but vaguely, like most childhood memories that blur with time. Then during the road trip, Raymond reveals he's the Rain Man. When Raymond was institutionalized and Charlie was little, Raymond would visit occasionally. He'd sing to Charlie. Young Charlie couldn't pronounce Raymond correctly. It came out as Rain Man. The imaginary friend wasn't imaginary. He was a real brother Charlie had forgotten. This revelation is devastating when it lands. Charlie has spent the entire film seeing Raymond as a stranger, an inconvenience, a ticket to inheritance money. The realization that Raymond was his childhood protector, the brother who sang to him when he was scared, recontextualizes everything. It's the moment Charlie's journey from greed to love becomes irreversible. The title works on multiple levels. It's literal, the childhood mispronunciation. It's also metaphorical for how memory distorts reality, how we forget the people who mattered most, how autism can make someone seem like a stranger even when they're family. Here's the beautiful part. The title reveal is earned. It's not explained in the first 10 minutes. The film makes you wait, makes you wonder why it's called Rain Man, then hits you with the answer at exactly the right emotional moment. Good storytelling isn't about front-loading information. It's about timing the reveal. Number 5, Hoffman wanted to quit, twice during filming, because he couldn't get Raymond right.
Tell him, Ray.
Teamwork sucks. I see. Look, I have the tickets, and I'll be on.
Method acting sounds romantic until you're actually trying to inhabit a character whose brain works fundamentally differently from yours. Dustin Hoffman discovered this the hard way. Despite months of research, despite observing Kim Peek extensively, Hoffman hit walls during production, where he felt the performance wasn't working. According to crew members, Hoffman came close to quitting at least twice. Once early in the shoot, when he couldn't nail Raymond's physical mannerisms consistently. The rocking, the hand movements, the way Raymond held tension in his body, none of it felt natural yet. Hoffman worried he was doing an impression rather than creating a character. The second crisis came during emotional scenes. How do you play emotion when the character processes emotion differently? Raymond feels things, but expresses them through neurological pathways that don't match typical expectations. Hoffman struggled to find the balance between showing Raymond's internal experience and honoring his autism. Barry Levinson talked him through both crises. They'd watch footage together. Levinson would point out moments that worked, helping Hoffman see progress he couldn't see himself. They brought in medical consultants to reassure Hoffman that his portrayal was respectful and accurate. Here's the twist. Hoffman's insecurity made the performance better. He never got comfortable. He never felt like he'd nailed it completely. That uncertainty kept him from falling into caricature or cheap actorly choices. The performance works because Hoffman remained vigilant, constantly questioning whether he was getting it right. Number 4. Kim Peek became famous after the film and spent his life advocating.
Yeah. Raymond! You never touch the steering wheel when I'm driving.
Before Rain Man, Kim Peek lived quietly in Salt Lake City with his father Fran. Peek had extraordinary abilities, photographic memory, the capacity to read 2 pages simultaneously, encyclopedic knowledge across thousands of subjects. But outside medical communities studying savant syndrome, virtually nobody knew who he was. The film changed everything. After Rain Man's massive success, media coverage identified Peek as Dustin Hoffman's primary research subject. Suddenly, this man who'd spent his life in a comfortable routine was being asked to appear on talk shows, give demonstrations, travel the country speaking about neurodiversity. Fran Peek became his son's manager and advocate. They visited schools, conferences, libraries, anywhere that would have them. Kim would demonstrate his memory by answering questions on any topic imaginable: geography, history, classical music, literature, sports statistics, zip codes for every U.S. city. He could tell you which day of the week any date in history fell on. His brain was a library with instant retrieval. But here's the beautiful part. Peek used his platform to advocate. He talked about acceptance, about recognizing that different brains have different capabilities, about creating space for neurodiversity in education and employment. He became an ambassador for a community that rarely received positive mainstream visibility. Kim Peek passed away in 2009 at age 58. His father said that the fame from Rain Man gave Kim purpose and joy he'd never experienced before. The film was fiction, but it gave a real person the chance to change real perceptions. One movie created opportunities for one man, who then created opportunities for thousands of others. That's legacy. Number 3, the ending was completely rewritten during production.
I yelled at my dog. The dog laid down.
There are dangers everywhere for Raymond. Routines, rituals,
The original scripted ending had Charlie keeping Raymond. They'd build a life together. Charlie becomes Raymond's caretaker, brothers forever. It was hopeful, optimistic, the Hollywood ending test audiences would love. Barry Levinson and Dustin Hoffman both hated it. As they lived with these characters during filming, they realized that the ending betrayed everything they had built. Charlie's growth wasn't about possessing Raymond. It was about learning what love actually requires. So they rewrote the ending during production. The new version has Charlie returning Raymond to the Walbrook institution. Not because he doesn't love Raymond, but because he understands Raymond needs specialized support and structure that Charlie can't provide alone. It's heartbreaking and honest. That final scene at the train station where their foreheads touch became one of the most emotionally devastating moments in 1980s cinema. Charlie has learned to connect. Raymond has learned to trust. But they still have to separate, because love sometimes means accepting what's best even when it destroys you. Test audiences were divided. Many wanted the brothers to stay together. Feel-good sells tickets. But Levinson fought for the harder truth. He knew the honest ending would hurt, but it would also last. He was right. That ending is why Rain Man still resonates. The happy version would have felt manipulative. This version feels earned. Charlie doesn't get what he wants. He gets what he needs. The knowledge that he's capable of loving someone more than himself. Number 2, Rain Man beat Die Hard and Roger Rabbit to become 1988's biggest film. The summer of 1988 belonged to blockbusters. Die Hard turned Bruce Willis into an action icon and made $140 million worldwide. Who Framed Roger Rabbit pioneered animation technology and earned $329 million globally. Big gave Tom Hanks his breakthrough leading role. Coming to America handed Eddie Murphy another massive hit.
Having you for my brother.
I'm an excellent driver.
Rain Man beat all of them. This quiet drama about two brothers learning to communicate across a neurological divide outgrossed every explosion, every technical marvel, every comedy. Final tally, $354.8 million worldwide, making it the highest-grossing film of 1988. Nobody saw this coming. United Artists projected maybe $60 to $80 million if everything went perfectly. This was prestige material, Oscar bait designed for limited release and award consideration. Instead, it became a genuine cultural phenomenon that played in theaters for months. Why did it work? Because it offered something different. While every other film sold spectacle, Rain Man sold authentic human emotion. People showed up for Tom Cruise's star power and stayed for Dustin Hoffman's performance that felt revolutionary. They left theaters talking about autism, about family, about what it means to truly connect with another person. The film also benefited from incredible word of mouth. Pre-internet, pre-social media, you couldn't manufacture virality. You had to earn every ticket through quality. People saw Rain Man, felt moved, and told everyone they knew. Number 1, medical professionals criticized the film for creating harmful stereotypes. Rain Man raised awareness about autism like nothing before it. Suddenly, mainstream America knew the word autism existed. Schools started screening for it. Families sought diagnoses for children who'd previously been labeled difficult or strange. The cultural impact was massive and mostly positive. But here's the complicated part. Medical professionals and autism advocates immediately criticized how the film narrowed public perception.
Definitely not on Monday.
Who's your dad?
Sanford Babbitt.
Who? Sanford Babbitt?
10961 Beachcrest Street.
Raymond represents a very specific presentation. Savant syndrome with extraordinary memory but significant support needs. Only about 10% of autistic individuals have savant abilities. The other 90% don't. After Rain Man's release, parents reported that when they told people their child had autism, the response became predictable. Oh, like Rain Man? What's their special talent? When the child didn't have photographic memory or instant calculation abilities, people were disappointed or confused. The film had accidentally created an expectation that autism equals savant syndrome. Educational professionals noted similar issues. Teachers expected autistic students to have hidden genius waiting to emerge. When students simply needed different learning approaches without demonstrating supernatural abilities, the Rain Man comparison became frustrating rather than helpful. The film's creators had good intentions. They researched extensively. They tried to portray autism respectfully. But good intentions don't prevent unintended consequences. By focusing on one specific presentation, they created a cultural touchstone that simultaneously raised awareness and narrowed understanding. Here's the legacy. Rain Man opened doors and created stereotypes. It helped some people get diagnosed while making others feel invisible. Impact is messy. Cultural change is complicated. Sometimes the film that helps the most also hurts in ways nobody predicted. And there you have it. From a fired director to an ending rewritten during filming, to medical professionals debating whether the cultural impact helped or hurt, Rain Man was never a simple underdog story. It was 8 years of development, a director who threw out the script daily, and an actor who almost quit because he couldn't get the character right, but pushed through anyway. Think about what actually happened here. A film that studios thought was too quiet and too niche became 1988's highest-grossing movie and swept the Oscars. Tom Cruise deferred his salary and made millions. Dustin Hoffman delivered a performance so authentic that medical schools used it for training. Kim Peek went from obscurity to spending the final years of his life advocating for neurodiversity because one actor decided research mattered. The movie changed how America talked about autism. It raised awareness while accidentally creating stereotypes. It opened doors while narrowing expectations. Impacted is complicated, but 4 decades later, we're still talking about Rain Man because it dared to make audiences care about a character whose brain worked differently, and that mattered. Which fact surprised you most? Drop your answer in the comments. If you made it this far, smash that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into the films that changed everything while everyone thought they were making something else. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.